Welcome, everyone. We are here on Forum Fridays, and I have Mark Flarkey with me, and we are looking at all the questions that are coming through onto the forums. And I thought maybe we'll bring on Mark and we'll see what's going on there. So let's bring in Mark. Hey, Mark.
Still backstage. There we go. Hi.
I got it right this time.
Perfect.
Yeah, what's happening at the forums?
Lots of interesting questions and discussions. One really interesting discussion topic, I've added my 2 cents worth a little bit too, is the effects of steam injection on breads, like on the bread volume and things like that. So the title is Effects of Steam Injection Changes in Humidity Mass Ratio on Loaf Volume. And the reason this is so interesting is that really there has not been any clear, concrete research done on this. There's
Yeah.
a lot of theories. I posted a link there to also AIB has this resource of technical bulletins that is now free. And that has information going back to 1979.
Nice.
And really, even in there, all they mentioned that I could find in a quick search was the mention of that how French bread is steamed so that it can expand a little bit before it sets. But
Sure.
what is going on with all of the gelatinization and things like that? Dr. Luke contributed as well, and talking about how the humidity creates this resistance, this buffer for the temperature to get through so that it slows the rate at which the yeast kill happens in the starch binding in the first, that first 7 minutes are critical in bread baking. That's when all the action happens. The rest is just drying out in color. And so it's quite an interesting
Make it sound so
conversation.
simple. That's
Pardon me?
That's really simple. All the first
Yeah.
one is just.
Yeah.
So what's your suggestion for this particular question?
Well, it's interesting that maybe there could be some more research done on this. The question was posed more academically than it's not a fabrication question, but so it's an interesting conversation that we can all learn from ideas and concepts and things like that. And so we'll see that maybe if the gentleman decides to get a grant somewhere, that he can research it some more. You never know, right?
Absolutely. And we would like to help you publish it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
it could
so
be
yeah, that's so little done in
mhm.
the heat transfer studies for steam
Yeah.
injection. And we don't have any information to make any kind of calculated decisions based on any kind of data. So a lot of us go out there in our bakeries and just basically, throwing darts in the dark, right? Because we just like, oh,
Yeah.
we'll just set it at this for 10 seconds and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
No educated,
And
no educated guess
even
in that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, even the debates around steam injection to a great degree as well. I mean, a lot of the good deck ovens and traveling ovens and stuff like that actually use boilers that superheat the water to steam, and so that it's actually pushing steam into the oven. Whereas a lot of other ovens are simply using a system that has like ball bearings or something similar into it, and water runs over that. It's sprayed onto it just to create steam that flows into the oven. So it's a different situation altogether. There's a different amount of pressure in the chamber and everything. So it could be a very interesting subject. So we have some academic conversations happening as well, which is quite interesting.
If you're interested in joining in steam injection conversation, go to our forums. Which thread should they be looking at, Mark?
That is under all things bread,
All things
and
bread.
it's under processing questions and discussions.
All right.
And the thread is called effects of steam injection / changes in humidity mass ratio on loaf volume. Right.
Love it.
And yeah, and Luke is the one who kind of started the conversation. And Ziwa added a bunch of really interesting scientific principles from physics and things. And then yourself, Dr. Lynn, provided a couple of
Just my
pointers.
2 cents.
And I put in my 2 cents, or actually, since it's Canadian, it's probably only 2.6, something like that, 2.7, 1.7. Yeah, so that's been quite interesting. And another conversation that also started by Luke, and where Mr. Stephen Pike was able to contribute some as well. It's really cool. Is the discussion around cell elongation in bread products. So the cool thing here is that Calibre Control are the creators and manufacturers of the C-Cell instrument, which helps prevent us bakers from continuing to destroy photocopiers.
Why are there crumbs in the photocopier again?
Yeah, and it's far more effective and better information as well. So it's an instrument that is essentially used to take images of the cell structure of your bread. And so there's a great conversation there in terms of what this effect, understanding this and the effect it has in understanding the arrangement of the number of cells, the diameter, and the thickness of the cell walls and so on, and what that means relative to the bread texture and things like that. So it's a very useful tool and a great conversation that is taking place there. So really, really interesting stuff. One more conversation that I had a chance to contribute my 1.75 cents again is a gentleman by the name of Issam, and he makes a pizza that is just an olive oil and toppings, so almost like a focaccia type bread. So this sounds to me like it might be sort of like a Middle Eastern thing. But at any rate, his challenge is that he finds that when the pizza is fresh out of the oven, it's nice, but after a short while, it starts to get too chewy. And he's heard of people adding yogurt or milk to get the crust softer and things, and what other alternatives. So I was able to add some comments from my experience with pizza dough and working with different pizzas. And pizza specific, what I find mostly is a lot of it has to do with hydration. The more hydration you have on the dough, the less chewy it will be. You get less of a bread-like texture, right? Also, the type of flour. If you have very high ash, high protein flour, that will make it more chewy. So if you have top pattern, top patents, or even in some places, they even mix in a little bit of pastry flour to make it shorter. It all depends what you're going for. If you're going for more of the open artisan bread cell structure, well, then you don't want too much soft flour. But if you want something that's really short, kind of like some of the frozen, the supermarket style frozen baked pizzas, where they have a shorter crust to it that is in bite, is short and soft. A little bit of soft flour helps with that. And so I've walked them through some different things on the selecting the right type of hydration and flour, the process as far as fermentation is your friend. Anywhere where I have worked or where I have enjoyed dining on great pizzas, and the time I spent in Italy with some pizza shops there, is the dough is always fermented slowly and retarded overnight before it is used the next day. This allows all the protease enzymes to be they need time. And so you want to slow the fermentation down so that the enzymes can go and do their work, and it changes the flavors as well, and does a lot of good stuff, right? And then there's, of course, dairy replacements as well.
Right. So one of the key things that he thinks is a problem, isn't it the olive oil or something? And it's really not, right?
No, I don't think so. No. Olive oil, the only problem he would have with olive oil, in my experience at least, is if the oil is too old, right? Or if it's not a good quality olive, it's not a truly first press or virgin olive oil, as we like to call it, right? It will taste off. And I had while in Italy, I got to taste fresh olive oils and comparisons, and it's amazing when you taste like some of the supermarket olive oils. The instructor, he told us when you taste it compared to the good stuff, it's like tasting cat piss. And so how he knows what cat piss tastes like.
No, thank you. I've never tasted that before.
No, good quality olive oil has a lovely, sweet green taste to it. A little bit of a green note, and it's beautiful, right? But it can go rancid fast. It's not that high in saturates, really.
Okay. I want to also point out that baking has a lot to do with texture as well. And we really need to get the baking done right, isn't it? So what's your opinion on that? What's the best? What's the best way of doing it?
Well, if for something that is more of a pizza, because of the larger diameter that you have and all the heat that you need to move through, is a stone type of hearth or something is really beneficial, very, very helpful. Some places use pizza screens. Looks like a pizza pan, but it's a wire mesh so that the heat can transfer through very quickly.
Right.
And really hot. I mean, and at home, in a home oven, the best you're going to do is around 500 degrees Fahrenheit. You're not going to get much hotter than that. In the pizza ovens, the stone ovens that are used, the ones that are wood fired, they're usually around 600 degrees. So really, really fast. It only takes about 6-7 minutes to bake a pizza in a pizza oven, right?
Right.
And so that is important too.
You know, they don't understand that hot and fast. I mean, you got it right there. Hot, and it has to be hot. It has to be fast. The heat transfer needs to be fast so that it doesn't get soggy.
Yep. So you gelatinize the proteins. You bind all the starch, and you retain some of that moisture. You don't evaporate all of it off, so that it gives you that softness as well.
That's correct. Yep. That's correct. So I received 3 job descriptions from baking this week that I'm going to post on the forums. So these jobs are in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So if you're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and you're looking for a job in a bakery, they are hiring. They are growing like crazy, and you just need to check it out yourself. Okay?
Yeah, that sounds
so. Are there any more topics we'd like to discuss today?
One thing I just want to give a shout out and to our new member, Michael.
Okay, member.
And joining the forum. He is a bakery operator in Nigeria.
Wow.
And so he's operating a bakery in Nigeria, producing pan breads there. And he's looking for some insights on improving the flavor of his bread. So hopefully we'll have, I know I'm going to find a chance to contribute this afternoon, and hopefully we'll have others who can chime in as well, and we can all help each other out all over the world. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on, Mark. Appreciate
my pleasure. Anytime. Always looking forward to it.
The conversations, and we will see you back again next Friday on Forum Fridays.
All right. We'll see you then. Thanks. Bye-bye.